Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin, I'm the Flutey Feminist, and each week I consult my Instagram followers to choose a video topic. Now, the past week has been pretty wild in the world. We are in the era of COVID-19, as I have called this. Things like quarantine, social distancing, trying not to get sick, trying not to get other people sick has been on everyone's minds around the world. And currently in Montreal, schools are closed, large gatherings have been banned, and you know, if you're well and able to not go to work, you know, where it's being recommended that you stay home and do some social distancing, which is just to kind of stay away from as many people as you can so that everyone remains as healthy and safe as possible. It's just a lot. It's a lot that's been going on. So I thought I'd throw in an extra video this week to say that I'm thinking of all of you, of everyone basically in the world. I know it's a really stressful time. Anxiety is running high. A lot of gigs and workshops and lessons have been canceled for creative freelancers like myself. So it's just an all-around really tough time. So I thought I would offer some fun things for you to do if you are at home and you want to still remain sane. And so mostly I will be offering podcasts today. So if that's not your thing, fast forward to like probably halfway through this video, and I will offer some other things like apps and activities and other videos that you can watch during this week. So I mean, of course, it's great if you want to be productive while you're at home. Maybe you have to work from home, so that's fine, I understand. But of course, we all deserve a break. And so, I want to offer things that you can do that aren't necessarily productive and that aren't like work-centered. So I will start with podcasts. I'm obsessed with podcasts, okay? And I have been for a couple years. And the thing is, I listen to like a million podcasts, so I thought I would only choose 10, which I know is still like a lot, but I only chose 10 for today, and I will tell you who the hosts are, what it's about, which episodes I recommend. So let's get started. Podcast number 1 is called Ologies, and it is hosted by Ali Ward. I love this podcast. It is great. So Ali Ward is a hilarious, amazing host, and she interviews people who specialize in something each episode. A lot of the time it's scientists, mostly scientists. But there's all sorts of episodes. It's been going on for a few years. A good friend of mine told me about it a long time ago, and I only started listening, I think, back in the fall. But I have gone through all the episodes already, and I love it. So some episodes I recommend would be the most recent one, actually, which is called Virology. And Ali had on someone who spoke about COVID-19, the coronavirus in general, kind of what it is, all the sciencey things behind it. So definitely check that out. It's really useful. It helped kind of make my anxiety go down a bit. I also recommend the episodes on mixology, which is actually about cocktails and drinks. It is fascinating. Volitional psychology, which is about procrastination, but you know, it's actually very interesting how the ologist talks about it, so I highly recommend. Disinfectology, it's hard to pronounce these words, which is about bleach. Again, actually very highly interesting. Victimology is another really great one. It's about crime victims. And there's just like over 100 episodes already. They're all great. Ali Ward is an amazing host. You will love this. And the fun facts that I give you now at the end of my videos were inspired by the fact that Ali provides you a secret each week at the end of the credits of each episode of Ologies. So, podcast number 2 is called Made of Human, and it is hosted by Sophie Hagen, who is one of my favorite people on the planet. Every episode she interviews someone. A lot of the times it's comedians because she herself is a comedian. But it could be anyone, and just to talk about life. It is kind of like a therapy session, which I love. She just kind of asks them about their life, and they just have in-depth discussions, and it's wonderful. I love, love, love Sophie Hagen. Some episodes that I really love are the episodes with Tim Minchin, which was pretty recent. There's also the ones with Travis Alabanza, Avery Edison, and the Slum Flowers are some of my all-time favorite episodes of this podcast and in general. So check out Made of Human. Podcast number 3 is Just Between Us, which is hosted by Allison Raskin and Gabby Dunn. I love them so much. My life was made a few months ago when Gabby liked and commented on a tweet that I made about her, and I died. It was great. So this podcast actually, didn't originate as a podcast, Just Between Us. Just Between Us actually is a YouTube channel that these two content creators made for many years. It's still up. They don't make videos regularly anymore. They're focusing on the podcast, but it's a similar vibe and thing. So they answer listener questions, they interview people on specific topics, and then they also, at the end of every episode, discuss a topic just amongst the two of them. And it is very, very funny. It's very insightful. I love these two hosts so, so much. They're really, really great people. So some episodes that stick out to me are episode 13, which is called Losing Your Virginity, Star Charts, and Gabby's Mental Health with Sarah Pash. This episode, as you heard in the title, is a big portion of the episode was talking about Gabby's mental health and what she was going through at the time. Both Allison and Gabby are very open about their mental health issues, which I really love to listen about. And so this episode is kind of really sad. I definitely cried, but I feel like it was so necessary to listen to. It was really, really, really touching, so I recommend that. And the other episode I recommend is episode 27, which is with the linguist Amanda Montel. Super, super fascinating. I love linguistics, and that episode was really awesome. So podcast number 4 is called Anything Music with Joanna Simoons, and Joanna is a friend of mine. I was just on her podcast last night as I'm filming this. So if I didn't double check, but if the episode is already out by the time I'll be uploading this, I'll put it in the link below. But in general, just check out Anything Music, which is her podcast. It's a new podcast, so there's only about 6 or 7 episodes at the moment. But it's really great. She talks about anything relating to music. It could be anything. So it's really fascinating and interesting. They're not too long, the episodes, so you can definitely binge listen to them. And the one I recommend is the most recent one, which is A Musical Heritage, where she has members of her extended family come in and talk about kind of their ancestors and their heritage as a family and what music means to them in their family. Super, super fascinating. Podcast number 5 is called Nancy. It's a pretty famous podcast, so you may have heard of it. It is hosted by Tobin Lowe and Kathy Tu, and it centers around LGBTQ plus topics and issues. I listened to their whole back catalog, probably I think in January, and it's super, super great. The episodes are usually very short, which to me I don't like. I like when episodes are long. I also should mention that I listen to podcasts at 1.5 times the speed because I listen to so many podcasts, and a lot of them I want to listen to all the episodes I haven't heard of before I started subscribing. So I want to be able to get through a lot of content every day, so I listen to them at 1.5 times the speed. And sometimes, once in a while, I'll go back to like regular speed and everything sounds so slow. It's really wild. You should try it. Anyways, just thought I'd mention that. That's how I got through their whole catalog so quickly. Yeah, it's a really, really awesome podcast. They do a lot of, it's kind of more journalistic and they have a lot of great issues that they talk about. It's really great. So some episodes I recommend would be episode 5 called There Are No Gay Wizards, episode 14 called Kathy Goes to Camp, and episode 16 called Kathy's Mom is Uncomfortable with All This. Super awesome queer podcast. Number 6 is a podcast called Queery, which is hosted by Cameron Esposito. Full disclosure, Cameron Esposito is my personal hero. She's my favorite person on this planet. I don't know her personally. Hopefully one day I will. But I adore her and her work and this podcast. So please check it out. It is another queer podcast. Cameron has one guest on each episode. She interviews them similar to like Made of Human. She interviews them about their life and usually will touch upon their queer journey and history. And she's had some really, really beautiful conversations with people over the last couple of years. A couple episodes out of all of the ones that I love, of course, a couple episodes that I recommend are a recent one with Carmen Maria Machado. It's episode 120, and episode 36 with Trixie Mattel. Podcast number 7. We are getting there. So this podcast is called She's All Fat, and it is hosted by Sophie Carter-Khan and April K. Quio. They are super awesome people. They're very funny. They're amazing writers. And I subscribed to this podcast, I think, from the very beginning, so I didn't miss anything when I started listening. It hasn't been on, I think they're preparing season 5 right now, so I haven't listened to an episode in quite a long time, I think, at least since the summer, if not before. But they have a lot of episodes up from season 1 to 4 that you can obviously listen to. They talk about mostly about issues relating to being fat and living in a world that is fatphobic and that sort of thing. So I recommend season 1, episode 9 called Roxanne Gay's Hunger, and season 4, episode 4 called Spilling the Disability. And the T, it's like T-E-A, not T-Y. Disability. Okay, podcast number 8 is called Small Doses, and it is hosted by Amanda Seales. I love Amanda Seales. I've been following her on social media for many years now. She is another one of my favorite people. All of these hosts are some of my favorite people that I know, that I pretend are my friends, let's be real. And she has a really great podcast called Small Doses that she has like different segments in each episode. She picks a topic relating to life and kind of dissects it, dispels some stereotypes or myths about the topic, and usually has a guest on as well. So some episodes that I recommend would be season 1, episode 16 called Side Effects of Being a Multi-Hyphenate, and season 2, episodes 51 and 52 is a 2-parter. It's the side effects of Pan-Africanism. So definitely check out Small Doses. Podcast number 9 is called Secret Dinosaur Cult, and it is hosted by Sophie Hagen and Jody Mitchell. No, not Joni Mitchell, Jody Mitchell. They are friends. They're both comedians. I've already mentioned Sophie in her other podcast, Made of Human. But this one is a podcast that they record live for each episode. And basically, they use the, not phenomenon, but they use a dinosaur each episode. They explain, like, a dinosaur in history, or species, or whatever you call it, to then be able to relate it to a topic that they want to cover. It is very, very funny. The segments that they have on each episode are hilarious. One of them is called the Daddy Jingle. And it's where they, God, it's so funny. It's where they rewrite lyrics to famous pop songs, and they sing it just themselves, no background music, nothing. And it all has to do with their daddy issues, because they both have one or more dads that have left their families. So the whole podcast is kind of like trying to dissect their daddy trauma. and it is hilarious. They have chosen hilarious songs each week. I cannot wait to know what song they have chosen to rewrite the lyrics to. There have been some absolute gems. So anyways, a couple episodes I recommend would be episode 14 called Iguanodon and New Year, Diets Don't Work, and episode 19, Ankylosaurus and Echoism, Je suis always anxious. That one in particular is a really, really, really important one that I encourage you to listen to. And finally, podcast number 10 is called Call Your Girlfriend, which is another one that is pretty famous by now, that you may have heard of, and that is just one of my favorite things on the planet. It is hosted by Anne Friedman and Aminatou Sow, who are two long distance besties, as they call themselves, and they've been on the air for 6 years now, I think, or almost 6 years. And I just recently started listening to their very first episodes. I'm going through the whole catalog because I only started listening to them a couple years ago. But also, you should know that Aminatou is the queen of memes on Insta stories. You have to follow her on Instagram. You won't regret it. Every time I see that she has posted Insta stories, I immediately look at them. They're hilarious. She is very witty and funny. She loves memes. So do I. And anyways, they're both very, very talented writers. And so each episode, they tend to talk about pop culture and what's happening in the news. They nowadays will have a guest on almost every episode to talk about certain things. They've had Hillary Clinton on, they've had Gloria Steinem, I'm pretty sure. They've had a lot of very famous and influential people, as well as just slightly less famous but still very interesting people. So it's a very, very important podcast, especially I think for Americans, since they are American. So some episodes that I recommend are episode 227. Yes, a lot of episodes. But that one is called Sex Work. It's a recent one. And actually the one right after it, episode 228, called Know Her Name, which is an episode where they interviewed Chanel Miller, and it was very touching, made me cry, and yes. So some other podcasts that I listen to that I won't go in depth about that you could check out are Back Talk. Back Talk actually just finished their podcast. They won't be continuing the podcast anymore, but it was a really, really, really amazing podcast that was hosted through Bitch Media. So definitely check out Back Talk. You can check out also So Many White Guys, hosted by Phoebe Robinson, which is a great interview-based podcast, and also Under the Sheets, which is a podcast hosted by two classical musicians who talk about kind of the drama in the classical music world throughout history. They pick anecdotes and stories to talk about, so that's really fun. Those are all the podcasts I recommend. Let me know if you already know some of them, or if you have other podcasts that you listen to. There's like hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, of course, so let me know in the comments what you think about the ones you listen to and about the ones I mentioned today. Now I will be sharing some apps with you that you can stare at for hours. So the very first one is called Happy Color, and it's a paint by numbers app, but it is really, really fun and addictive. I'm obsessed with it. I use it every single day, usually for at least an hour a day, I would imagine. And for the last month or so, when I listen to podcasts, I do actually go on my Happy Color app, and what ends up happening is that after, when I'm done the image that I'm working on, the whatever podcast episode I was listening to imprints itself through my memory onto the image. So then if I scroll through all the pictures I've colored in later, I can remember which episode of whichever podcast I was listening to. A very cool phenomenon that I've been noticing. But yeah, there are some images, there's all sorts of images, art and just all sorts of hundreds and hundreds of images to color in. It's just really, really fun. So if you like any kind of coloring concept, you can check that out. Yesterday, I downloaded TikTok. So that has very quickly taken over my life. It is as funny as people have been saying it is. Young people are the future. They are alright. The kids are alright. They're doing great things on there. There's also an app called Canva, which is for all sorts of design. So you can design an Instagram post, a YouTube thumbnail, Insta stories, Facebook posts, all sorts of social media things, posters, logos, all sorts of things. It is a free app, and sometimes there are images or backgrounds or whatever that you would have to pay for or get the premium version for, but there's still a lot on it that is free. It's what I use now to make my Instagram posts and my YouTube thumbnails. So if you have a reason or not to be creating content like this, you can check out Canva. It's a really fun app. And another app is called Tunable. This would be for musicians. It's kind of an all-in-one app where you have a metronome, a tuner, you can record yourself, and it has a lot of functionality, a lot of options, all sorts of different sounds, and anyways, it's a really great all-around app. When I bought it a couple years ago, it was about $5 plus tax for just a one-time fee. I think it's worth it, so you can check that out and have fun with that. And finally, another app that I like that I just haven't used in a while is called Harry Potter, a Hogwarts Mystery. It's a Harry Potter themed story app. I forget what those, if there's a term that I'm forgetting, but it's really, really fun. You would create your own character who gets sorted into a house at Hogwarts, and they have all these storylines set out for you. You could do there's so much you can do on the app. It's really, really fun. So if you're into Harry Potter and storytelling apps, definitely get that one. Then other activities, of course, one would be reading. Of course, I would tell you to read books. I won't give you specific suggestions here, but you can check out my Goodreads profile, which I will link in the description box. And so I think in this time of high anxiety, things that genres that might be useful to look into would be self-help. So reading someone like Brené Brown would be useful, I think. Young adult novels nowadays are so good. You really don't have to be a young adult to read these novels. They're really, really doing some great things, as well as memoirs. I love reading memoirs, especially comedic ones. So those would be the genres I'd recommend right now. And I'm currently reading this book. It's called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory. It's by Caitlin Doty. See, Caitlin, like me, spelled the same, which I like. I won't read you the description or anything. You can look it up on Goodreads. It's really, really good. It's nonfiction. It's a memoir, I would call it, and just fascinating. Look it up. And as well, you can check out, which I'll link below, you can check out 2 videos that I've made about books. One was 5 books that changed my life, and the other is my 5 favorite books. So you can check those out if you want specific recommendations from me. Then, for obviously watching TV shows would be another activity I'd recommend. Again, I'm not going to give you specifics here. It would be a super long video, so check out my video entitled 10 Bingeable TV Shows. This is the week to watch that video and then to go watch all those TV shows. I will link it in the description box. Some other activities that I was kind of thinking about and that I ended up purchasing for is this drawing book, which is called Scratch and Sketch, and I bought it from the store that I work at. So there's all sorts of themes of this book type thing that you can get. It's not just fine art. There's other themes, but I chose this one. So what I thought it would be, you'd think I'd really know what it was since I worked there, but whatever. It was wrapped in plastic, so I couldn't look inside. I thought it would be there'd be an image, and then you would just scratch and the image would just appear in all these cool colors. No. So I purchased it at work, I opened it, and then my coworker proceeded to let me know that no, in fact, they give you an image on one side of the page, and then you have to draw the image. I am not a visual artist. I do not draw. This was not what I wanted. But I thought, okay, well, I've purchased it. I've already started using it to see what would happen. So I think I'll make this into a series, probably on Instagram, showing you the results of my drawings. So if you'd like to see my first one, which yes, I did while at work, don't shame me. So the first one is the Mona Lisa. I will show you, yes, okay. So this is the image they provide in the book. And this is what I drew. Sink it in. Let it sink in. I can't say words. Yeah. So yeah, so you have this like stick thing, and then you just do that. So the next one in this book that I'm gonna attempt to draw is American Gothic. So follow me on Instagram at the Flutey Feminist, because this will be a comedic series very soon. Finally, I also got at the store I work at this origami set in pink. I don't know how to do origami. A friend of mine showed me once a couple of years ago. I will be using the internet to help me out, but it seems like it could be fun. So yeah. And you can also, I would suggest journaling. I have a journal right here, which is like a Harry Potter journal, which I really like. On the back it says, well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor. Anyways, so I journal daily. Some days I forget, but then I like recap the previous day. And also if you're a musician, I would suggest practicing just for fun. Like truly do not work on the repertoire you're like supposed to be working on right now. Just pick either old stuff or new stuff that you want to learn that's just slow, like fun work. Yeah, that is all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope some of this has helped you in some way. You can leave a comment, of course, letting me know what you think about my suggestions. If you, of course, have other suggestions, please let us all know. We will check it out to entertain ourselves during these trying times. This week's fun fact is that rabbits have a really fast metabolism. So that's why they like poop while they're eating. That's how fast it is. And also that's why you can't go very long without feeding them, because they will die. So I fostered a rabbit over a year ago, and you have to feed them very regularly, like throughout the day, because their metabolisms are fast. I really couldn't think of an interesting fun fact today, so that's what you get. Make sure to follow me on social media. The links are always in the description box below. And make sure to like and share this video with your friends and family, of course, because we are all trying to social distance ourselves as much as possible, right? So we all need tips and activities to entertain ourselves. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking right up there. My flute performance channel is right over here, and right up there is my latest video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fluty, feminist, healthy day.